Oh, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in. And there has been a ton of talk going around this offseason for the Bears. Number one overall pick talk, trade talks. There's been a lot of rumors. There have been a lot of things circulating online ever since the Bears, quote-unquote, earned the number one overall pick in the 2023 draft. Now, one thing that has been circling around as of late, and something that I'm going to talk about in this video in particular, is the possibility of a Deandre Hopkins trade. Now, I've stumbled onto an article that gives 3 trade scenarios. I haven't really looked at it yet. I just saw that it was an article. And maybe this is something I want to react to and give my thoughts on and share it with you guys. But there have been a lot of rumors about a Deandre Hopkins trade. There have been rumors that the Arizona Cardinals could look to move on from him this offseason. And if they do, that will be his third team. And the Bears have a possibility of that being their third team. But before I get into my reaction and my thoughts on this article and talking about this trade, make sure you guys leave this video a like as it continues to help this channel to grow and to beast the YouTube algorithm. And if you are one of the people that are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you click the sub button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. But without further ado, let's dive into it. Okay, so guys, I found this article from Fansided written by Rob Schwartz Jr. about 3 days ago, so this is relatively new. So I'll just dive into it and give my thoughts on some of the things. I'll be honest, I don't want the Chicago Bears to make this move. I think there are better moves to be had than targeting a soon-to-be 31-year-old wide receiver isn't the way to go. That said, I wouldn't hate the idea of adding Deandre Hopkins to the mix. He only has 2 years left on his contract. Although expensive, the Bears can obviously afford him. Hopkins' base salary in 2023 is just over $19 million, and his base salary in 2024 is a little over $14 million. He's still worth that amount of money at 31 to 32 years old. Now, when I look at this situation, the one thing that seems very similar is the Amari Cooper trade last year. The Browns sent 2 fifth-round picks and swapped 6th-round picks for Cooper. The Cowboys did not get the return I thought they would for Cooper. However, the way the Cooper's contract was written, most of his salary went with him to Cleveland, and the Cowboys actually saved about $16 million. The Cardinals, won't save that much, but they will save a little over $8 million if they find a trade partner. Now, my personal opinion is I wouldn't mind having Deandre Hopkins on this Bears roster. Deandre Hopkins, even though he's had a little bit of an injury history over the past couple of years, he's been one of those players that when he's healthy, he's still one of the best wide receivers in football, in my opinion. It's just on top of the PED suspension he had last year, he missed the last couple of games of this past season with the MCL sprain. He dealt with a hamstring injury for majority of the previous season in 2021, albeit he's had a little bit of health issues as of late, starting to get up there in age. It's just when he's healthy, he's one of the better receivers in football. So I do like the potential of them getting DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not opposed to it. It could help with the development of Justin Fields and getting him more weapons around him, in which we've seen they lack thereof. And he can pair him next to Darnell Mooney, and they can make a really solid combo. So I do like the fact that them get DeAndre Hopkins. He's not going to be one of those big price receivers as we've seen, $19 million next year, $14 million in 2024. So it's not like you're overpaying like a $20 million or $25 million for what the production could potentially be from a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. As you look at it, I personally would love to see DeAndre Hopkins in a Bears uniform. I don't think personally that Bears will have to give up a ton with, of course, the age and, of course, the PED suspension and, of course, some of his injury history as of late. They're probably going to get the same package as the Amari Cooper trade that they had earlier in this article, I think it's going to be around the same type of package, maybe a 3rd, 4th round pick for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I don't think the Cardinals are going to get much, so I think a 3rd or 4th round pick is probably going to be somewhere around what they're going to get for him. Of course, they're probably going to ask for 2nd or probably a 3rd, but I think the 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th swaps or something like that. I just don't think at this point DeAndre Hopkins' value is high because of the injury history and, of course, the PED suspension. I personally would like it. I don't think the Cardinals are going to have high value for him, and the Bears have acquired a couple of extra picks, so I wouldn't be opposed to it. But the Chicago Bears make a trade for DeAndre Hopkins. It was reported that the Cardinals are going to shop Hopkins, but one hurdle the Cardinals and the Chicago Bears need to overcome, though, is DeAndre Hopkins' no trade clause, which I did not know he had until I just read that. So that could be potentially a deal stopper right there. I'm not certain that he'll be willing to waive the clause to come to Chicago should the Cardinals and Bears work out a deal. Now, personally, if I was DeAndre Hopkins, maybe I wouldn't want to come to Chicago, but you do get to pair yourself with Fields and a really stout running game, which we're still going to have to see what happens with that with Montgomery and the other rumors that are going around. I'm not going to talk about those, but there is a no trade clause that I didn't know about, so he's probably going to have his teams listed if he gets traded limited. Maybe the Bears might not be one of those teams, but we're going to assume he is. The next trade package number 1. The Bears get the 1st round pick, which is 3rd overall, DeAndre Hopkins, and the 1st round swap. No, not even a chance. No. No. I can already say this. It's not going to happen. This package, no. But let's see what they say. This is the least favorite option that I am presenting. However, I can see it as a possibility should the Cardinals want Anderson. Everyone keeps talking about quarterbacks going 1st overall, but it's also possible that a team looks to trade up for Anderson instead. Would the Cardinals roll the dice and hope that Anderson falls to them in 3? Or would it be easier to guarantee they land him while also unloading Hopkins in the same move? As someone who wants the Chicago Bears to build for the future, I prefer that they obtain more draft capital and possibly a younger player. Now, I do agree with that. Get a younger player, obtain more draft capital. I do agree with that. So this trade scenario, no. But I'm going to agree on someone who can be a part of the future. I also don't know if the Cardinals will actually want to guarantee they land Will Anderson. Waiting until they are number 3. They're number 3 on the clock makes plenty of sense. Even if Will Anderson is gone, there are a few other great prospects to be had should they sit tight. I am sure that the Cardinals would prefer to land some additional draft capital when trading DeAndre Hopkins too. However, I am not sure they're going to get the return they are hoping for in the deal. I again go back to the Amari Cooper trade. Cooper was 27 when the Cowboys traded him. He isn't a scrub either. He had been to 4 Pro Bowls before the trade. He had a solid year for the Browns this year too. Cooper finished with 1,160 yards and 9 TDs. Hopkins has been better, but coming off of 2 down years, including a 6-game PED suspension, if the Cardinals want draft capital in return, here's what it would probably take. So, like I said, and I agree with him with the Amari Cooper trade, they're probably going to get around the same value, if maybe not less. This trade scenario makes absolutely 0 sense for the Bears to trade the number 1 overall pick to get DeAndre Hopkins. And they'll get back to 3. The Bears are going to want more draft capital for trading the number 1 overall pick. And the Cardinals are going to go on more than just moving up 2 spots to trade DeAndre Hopkins. So this trade makes absolutely 0 sense for both sides involved. Let's get to the next trade. Next, the Bears get DeAndre Hopkins. The Cardinals get the 4th round pick, which is 133rd overall, and a 2024 5th round pick. Now, that, I'm not going to lie, that might be, I think, one of the better case scenarios for the Bears. Maybe the Cardinals may want a 3rd, which I'm not opposed to giving up a 3rd for DeAndre Hopkins. So this possible trade could be a solid trade for both sides, assuming that the value of the Cardinals are going to get for him is 4th round pick. I'm assuming they're probably going to ask for a 3rd, and if a team's going to need him that bad, they're probably going to get a 3rd, and then the no trade clause does have some effect in that too. So Let's just go on to what he says. I know Cardinals fans aren't going to be happy with this scenario. However, when the precedent is set from the Amari Cooper trade last year, teams aren't going to break the bank for an aging wide receiver with only 2 years of control. Not to mention he has only played 19 games over the last 2 years. 6 games with a PED suspension, but he also missed the final 2 games of this year due to an MCL sprain. Not to mention wide receivers over the age of 30 do not have a great track record. I agree with everything he said. Deandre Hopkins has missed a ton of time the last 2 years. The PED suspension doesn't help. The MCL sprain that he suffered last year doesn't help. Well, this season doesn't help. And he had a hamstring injury which cost him the majority of 2021, which did not help. In this scenario, the Chicago Bears send the Cardinals the 4th-round pick that they acquired from the Eagles in the Robert Quinn trade. 1 4th-round pick isn't enough, though. Ryan Poles throws a 5th-round pick in 2024 for good measure. Justin Fields can use a wide receiver like Hopkins. He needs someone he can trust and throw the ball up to in pressure situations. While throwing it to the current receivers on the roster, too often the receiver failed to come down with it, which is absolutely true. Hopkins instantly solves a major problem on this roster. Now, if healthy, he definitely solves that problem, as DeAndre Hopkins has about as sure a hand that we've ever seen possibly in the NFL. So I do agree with that part, that he can come in and solve the red zone target problem, the sure-handed problem, but like I said, and he said in the previous statement, his health. His health has been a question the last 2 years. He's had 2 down years. Just to bring up another trade that we could possibly compare it to, the Titans trade for Julio Jones. The Titans gave up around a similar package, the 3rd or 4th round pick. They got a 3rd or 4th. They gave up 3rd or 4th round pick to the Falcons to get Julio Jones, and that really didn't work out because of Julio Jones's health. I think this is kind of maybe the same scenario as that, as Julio was still, when healthy, he can be a very good player, but he has failed to stay healthy. And Hopkins is a very similar case. Great career, one of the better receivers that we've seen in this league. But over the last 2 years, it's either health or the 6-game PED suspension that he suffered. That's another trade that you can compare what the value they could possibly get for DeAndre Hopkins. So I do like the fact that he can come in and solve a problem with, as far as being a sure-handed receiver and a receiver that can go up and get the football. It's just the health. But next moves on to this next trade package, and last trade package is that the Bears get DeAndre Hopkins and the Cardinals get Travis Gibson and a 5th-round pick. Now, I will be honest. Travis Gibson does not fit in this system. He really doesn't. His body type and his play style is more of an outside linebacker type than he is a 4-3 defensive end. Gibson played better in the 3-4 defense that the Bears were previously running. This year, we did not see much of the same progression that we thought we would see with them trading Khalil Mack and Travis Gibson stepping up to more of a role. We really didn't see the production of Travis Gibson, as I believe he's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker than he is a 4-3 defensive end. So I don't mind them throwing Gibson in this deal. Gibson has only a year left of his contract. But let's move on to what he actually says in this article. Many fans won't like the idea of sending Travis Gibson to the Arizona Cardinals, but he's entering the final year of his contract and struggle in Matt Eberflus' system. 2 things I've said. He'd better be suited playing in the Cardinals-based 3-4 defense, assuming they keep that front with the new coaching staff in 2023. Obviously, Gibson has experience in both systems, but he had 7 sacks in 2021 playing as an outside linebacker compared to only 3 with his hand in the dirt. Even his tackle numbers were down this season, and his tackles for loss dropped from 7 to only 4. In this scenario, the Chicago Bears are sending away a player drafted by Ryan Pace, not Ryan Poles. He's a young player who deserves to be in the NFL, but he cannot be counted on as a starting edge rusher. DeAndre Hopkins might only be in Chicago for 2 seasons, but they can also look to address the wide receiver position in other ways in 2023 and address it again in 2024. They should trade down as they should. Should they trade down as they should from the 1st overall pick, they might even have draft capital to move up for Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, personally, I would love to have Marvin Harrison Jr. in a Chicago Bears uniform. Seeing this, me being an Ohio State fan and watched him over the past 2 seasons really carve up college football, and he really carved up Georgia in that championship game before, well, the semifinal game before he was hurt. So I actually would love that idea. But let's continue on. Again, I'm not sold on the idea of trading for DeAndre Hopkins. He'd obviously be an upgrade and give Justin Fields the weapons he needs to prove he can succeed in this league as a passer. The problem is that he's not a long-term solution, and Ryan Poles seems to be the type of general manager who covets young athletic talent over age-improving veterans. That is something I've kind of learned from what Ryan Poles has done over the past couple of years. Well, not the past couple of years, over last year. He does like a lot of those young athletic guys. He hasn't really signed too many big-name veterans, which I would expected them not to this past offseason, as they didn't have a lot of money and they were trying to offload some contracts that were had by Ryan Pace's regime. So out of the trade scenarios, I like the last two. Is DeAndre Hopkins going for Travis Gibson and 5th round pick. Now I'm assuming they probably might have a 4th round pick, and that's just my opinion. But like I said, it's DeAndre Hopkins' injury history and his ability to stay on the field versus the Bears still rebuilding this roster and going young. And the fact that he has a no trade clause. I don't think this move may actually happen, but it is good for discussion, and it could be a possibility if DeAndre Hopkins decides to waive his no trade clause for the Bears. But my opinion, I don't think this trade happened. 1, the health of Hopkins. 2, his ability to stay on the field, even though he's not an expensive player. But you got to think of those factors. And 3, Ryan Poles is looking to build this team through the draft and get young. And the wide receiver position is something that they need to stay young at, so they can have time with Fields to build rapport and have that combo go for a long-term solution versus somebody like Hopkins that will be a short-term solution. Even though it would be a good solution for those short 2 years if he's healthy. But I just don't think this trade will happen. But hey, those are my thoughts. Make sure you guys leave this video a like as it continues to help this channel to grow and to beat the algorithm. Comment you guys' thoughts down below. And as always, click the sub button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. But I'm APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great next one there, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.